Clark was trying to redirect a pass. Clark, oh my, from Schenectady.
Caitlin Clark is right in the middle of a story the WNBA never wanted out. A referee just broke their silence, and what they revealed about Caitlin has flipped everything fans thought they knew. For months, people have watched Clark get shoved, grabbed, and slammed during her drives, yet the whistle stayed silent. Everyone was told it was just rookie treatment, a tough love lesson every newcomer had to face. But behind those closed doors, something way more serious was going on. This wasn't about teaching a young player the ropes. It was about shaping how her entire game would be called. Fans felt it, players whispered about it, and now a referee has confirmed that none of it was random. This wasn't just about missed fouls, it was about control, power, and a quiet choice that could have changed an entire season. Caitlin Clark came into the league with more eyes on her than any rookie in recent memory. From sold-out college games to jam-packed WNBA arenas, she brought the same fearless energy that made her a sensation.
They've got Caitlin Clark to fire away from three.
She launched deep threes without blinking and attacked the rim with speed and confidence. Every move screamed that she belonged on the biggest stage from day one. In just a few weeks, her impact was crystal clear. Ticket sales exploded wherever she played. TV ratings shot up way beyond projections. Social media couldn't stop replaying her no-fear shots and flashy assists. People weren't just watching basketball anymore. They were watching Caitlin Clark. Fans showed up early just to catch her warm-ups. Kids wore her jersey with pride. Commentators called her the future of the league. But with the spotlight came the storm.
She has made the game easier for her teammates because she's been involved in moving the...
Defenders came at her hard from the opening tip. Arms swiped, bodies crashed, and she was bumped every single drive. Some nights, she hit the floor again and again trying to finish at the rim. Crowds gasped, fans yelled at their TVs, and even announcers froze, waiting for a whistle that never came. Still, nothing. No calls. No protection. People tried to make excuses. That's how rookies learn, they said. Every young star gets tested. Sure, basketball's always been physical, but this felt different. Caitlin wasn't just another rookie fighting for respect. She was the name driving ticket sales, boosting revenue, and breathing new life into the league.
Bodies inside, Aaliyah Boston. How good is Aaliyah Boston?
She wasn't just learning the game. She was changing its future. That's why everything about her journey started to feel off. Her road looked rougher than others before her. Past rookies got foul calls when they drove into contact, but not Clark. While others got free throws, she just got sent back on defense. Game after game, it was the same story. Hit, no whistle. Move on. Players started noticing. Locker room chatter turned serious. Coaches quietly questioned what was going on. They didn't speak loud, but their tone said everything. Something about Clark's games just didn't add up.
Caitlin Clark.
Clark, bodies right through Sherrod in an early bucket for Kate.
Then came the moment that changed it all. A referee finally spoke up, admitting that games involving Caitlin Clark were handled differently before they even began. Not in public, not on camera, but behind the scenes. In those private pregame meetings, her name was being discussed. Her presence mattered before the first tip-off. And that revelation changed how everyone looked at the entire season. Suddenly, what used to seem like random missed calls looked more like a pattern. What fans brushed off as rookie treatment now seemed planned. Something bigger was happening.
He does and gets the foul.
And it had been in motion long before anyone realized. Caitlin Clark's story stopped being just about basketball. It turned into a battle of endurance. It wasn't only about skill anymore, but about how much contact she could take, how many hits she could absorb, and how long she could stay silent while still giving her all. Clark didn't lash out, didn't argue, didn't lose her cool. She simply stood up, fixed her jersey, and kept going like nothing could shake her. That calm, unbreakable attitude became part of her image.
Despite being just a rookie, Clark would see hounding defenses focused heavily on her.
Focused, fearless, and impossible to rattle. Her rookie season turned into more than a test of talent. It became a test of patience, grit, and raw strength, and the whole world was watching every move. Before each big WNBA game, referees meet behind closed doors. No cameras, no audience, just quiet discussions about the rules, the key players, and the moments that could decide everything in the final minutes. It's supposed to keep things fair, to make sure every game runs smooth. But over time, one name started coming up in those rooms again and again: Caitlin Clark. An official, speaking later under the condition of anonymity, dropped a bombshell. What was being said about Clark's games was not normal. The guidance wasn't about protecting her or making sure she got fair treatment. It was the complete opposite. The message was clear. Let the contact happen, let her feel the pressure, let her struggle. It sounded small on paper.
Outstanding offensive rebounding team. Clark, cut it!
But the effect was explosive. The idea was that Clark fighting through all that physical play would make her story more gripping, more emotional. Fans at home would see her take hits, fall, get up, and push through again. That pain, that perseverance, it made for perfect TV drama. But here's the problem. None of that was in the rule book. The WNBA clearly states that every player deserves the same protection.
Caitlin, and she has officially moved on up in the record books.
No hand checking, no pushing, no arm blocks, no interference with movement. Every player on the perimeter should be free to move safely. Yet in those quiet pre-game meetings, what was said behind closed doors carried more weight than what was printed on paper. Those whispered instructions and subtle cues shaped everything that happened once the ball went up. The tone was set early, and the games followed that script. Missed calls started stacking up. Clark would drive to the rim, slam into defenders, and crash to the floor. Crowds gasped.
Clark comes up with a steal. Clark thought about pulling up from three. Will dip inside.
Coaches clenched their jaws. Commentators leaned in trying to find the words, but the whistle stayed dead quiet. Clark just adjusted her stance and kept pushing through like a warrior. She couldn't complain or argue because the outcome was already influenced long before tip-off. To most fans watching, it probably looked random. Just another night of tough defense or an off game from the refs. But deep down, it wasn't random at all. It was a pattern, carefully laid out before the game even started. Every time Clark was hit and no foul was called, the story kept repeating. The underdog fighting through unfairness, the star showing grit under fire.
Clark, step back three, knocks it down.
Her rookie year turned into something far deeper than basketball. It became a living test of focus, endurance, and mental toughness under invisible pressure. Every matchup started with a subtle setup, and Clark wasn't just facing her opponents. She was fighting against quiet expectations created behind closed doors. By season's end, fans couldn't quite explain it, but they felt something was off. The tension, the drama, the constant grind, it all felt heavier when Clark played, but the full truth didn't surface until later, when insiders finally spoke up and revealed what was really happening. And when that truth came out, it flipped everything. Suddenly, every hard fall, every ignored whistle, every late-game drive looked different. Caitlin Clark's journey wasn't just about points or wins anymore.
He made contact with J.C. Sheldon as Caitlin Clark knocks down the triple.
It was about surviving in a system that had already written her struggle before she even stepped on the court. And through it all, she never backed down. She kept playing, proving not just her skill, but her incredible strength and resilience. When the numbers start talking, the truth gets loud. Opinions can clash and emotions can spin, but stats don't lie. Once analysts and basketball insiders started breaking down Caitlin Clark's rookie season, things got real interesting. They dug into the numbers game by game and found something that didn't add up. Clark was driving to the basket more than almost any other rookie guard in years. Same fearless fire she had in college. She was attacking, absorbing contact, and pushing through defenders like a powerhouse. But somehow, despite all those drives, she was earning way fewer free throws than rookies who played with similar aggression. How could that be? It didn't make sense. Usually when rookies take that kind of punishment on their way to the rim, they get rewarded with foul calls. That's just part of keeping the game balanced. But not with Clark. Her case was different. She got hit, bumped, shoved, and still nothing. She'd slide through contact, fall, and just keep playing, no whistle in sight. The same thing happened again and again. Missed calls kept piling up and not in her favor. The WNBA keeps detailed last 2-minute reports for close games, tracking every call and missed call. And when analysts combed through those reports for Clark's games, the results were shocking. They compared her data with other rookies who handled the ball just as much, and the differences jumped right off the page. In several cases, those reports flat out admitted that fouls were missed when Clark was clearly hit by defenders. Some were light bumps, but others were heavy enough to change an entire play. One moment in particular still stands out. Late in a tight game, Clark exploded to the basket and drove right into a defender's chest. Crowd held its breath, waiting for that whistle, but it never came. The game went on. And the next day, the league's official report confirmed it. It should have been a foul. That single missed call shifted the game's momentum and helped the other team walk away with the win. That's when everything changed. Suddenly, this wasn't about one referee's bad judgment. It was about proof, documented evidence, cold, hard data showing Clark was being officiated differently than her peers, even when she played the same aggressive style. The pattern was too clean to be coincidence. The numbers didn't scream, they whispered, but when put together, they told a powerful story fans had been feeling all season long. Caitlin Clark wasn't just facing defenders on the court. She was battling an invisible wall of missed protections and overlooked fouls. It wasn't just tough luck. It was a silent setup shaping how her games unfolded before the first pass was even made. The data revealed what words couldn't. Every drive, every bump, every ignored call, it all added up to something bigger. Her resilience became part of the show. The league's storylines were building around her toughness, her ability to take hits and keep moving. Clark's grit and skill were undeniable, but the numbers exposed a deeper layer to her season. A hidden pressure most players never face. Week after week, she had to rise above it. By season's end, fans started catching on. They didn't need charts to see what their eyes already knew. Clark was built different. But when the stats finally came out, they confirmed it. She wasn't just extraordinary. She was surviving something extra that others didn't have to face. And then came the next chapter. Follow the money. Basketball doesn't just happen under the lights. It's also played in offices, meeting rooms, and business calls no one ever sees. Those behind-the-scenes decisions can shape games, seasons, and even entire legacies. Caitlin Clark's arrival in the WNBA didn't just change the game, it changed the business. Her name alone filled arenas that used to echo with empty seats. Tickets sold out in minutes. Her jersey became a must-have item, flying off racks faster than the league could restock. TV ratings soared higher than ever before. The league had never seen this kind of growth from a single player so fast, and that kind of power, it couldn't be ignored. With all that explosive growth came something the league didn't expect. Fear. Behind the scenes, some veteran players and even officials started getting nervous. The spotlight had zeroed in on one player, Caitlin Clark, and it was burning bright. Some worried that if she took over too fast, it could tilt the balance of power across the entire WNBA. When the time came for salary talks or new player agreements, a single star controlling the league's attention could change everything. If sponsors, fans, and media all poured their focus into just one person, the influence of everyone else might shrink, and that scared people. The league suddenly had a quiet but serious decision to make. Let Clark's rise go unchecked and risk her becoming the face of the WNBA overnight, or slow things down a bit to keep the spotlight shared among more players. Every choice, no matter how small, carried real weight, and one way to manage that balance was on the court itself. The games. By letting the matchups stay physical, by allowing defenders to play her harder than most, the league could subtly slow her rise. It wasn't obvious at first, but the results showed up in the numbers. Her stats grew slower than her skill level suggested they should have. The narrative shifted. Her story wasn't about easy domination, it became about struggle and survival. Fans watched her fall, get up, and fight through the hits. It made every game look like a war zone. Sure, the drama got bigger, but her rise stayed steady, not explosive. It might sound wild that a league would shape games for business reasons, but that's not new in pro sports. Behind the game, there's always business quietly steering the wheel. Ratings, sponsorships, and bargaining power, all of it can affect what happens on the court. What looked like random missed calls or tough luck could have been part of a quiet plan to keep the system stable. Veteran players and league execs could hold their influence, while a young rookie's rapid climb got gently slowed down. Every bump, every missed whistle, every drive she fought through meant more than anyone in the stands realized. Caitlin Clark wasn't just battling for points, she was navigating a whole power system built around control, image, and money. The games turned into more than competition. They became a reflection of league politics and strategy. By season's end, it was clear that her growth, though incredible, had been managed. What looked like just basketball had business fingerprints all over it. Her success wasn't just talent. It was talent mixed with endurance, patience, and unseen decisions made far from the hardwood. And that leads to the big question fans kept asking all year: why didn't Caitlin Clark ever speak up? After games where calls went against her or defenders pushed limits, why didn't she call it out? From the outside, it looked like quiet acceptance, but the truth was way deeper and way tougher. As a rookie, Clark's salary was tiny compared to the attention she was bringing in. She filled arenas and moved merchandise, but the WNBA's rules gave referees a lot of control, and speaking up against them, that could cost her big time. Publicly criticizing officials meant heavy fines under the player conduct policy. One post, one comment could cost thousands, sometimes a chunk of her entire season's pay. That wasn't a risk she could afford to take. And the fines weren't even the worst part. The bigger threat was her brand. Caitlin had already caught the eye of top sponsors and major companies. She was the new face of women's basketball, a role model, an icon in the making. If she went public with complaints, those same companies might start to see her as a problem. That could mean pulled deals, canceled ads, and millions lost in future endorsements. She knew every word carried power, and one wrong move could overshadow everything she was building. So, instead of speaking out, Clark chose composure. After tough games, she'd post short, calm messages like, "On to the next one." No anger, no shade, no drama, just focus. It was her quiet way of saying, "Yeah, I see it, but I'm not letting it stop me." She handled the noise with discipline, turning silence into strength. Her restraint became her power, proof that she could survive anything the game threw her way. The fans noticed her silence, but few really understood why. Her calm after every rough game wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Her team kept the same low profile too. Behind closed doors, coaches quietly raised concerns to league officials about the missed calls and non-stop physical play. But in public, they told Clark to stay focused, play through the hits, and keep moving forward. They knew that fighting back in front of cameras could spark drama the league didn't want. Staying quiet was the safest play for Clark and for everyone around her. When that referee finally broke their silence, everything made sense. The quiet approach had worked perfectly, for the league at least. Clark kept suiting up, fans kept watching, and the headlines focused on her grit instead of the league's officiating. What looked like humble silence was actually the key to keeping the machine running smooth. The story of her rookie season became one of toughness, not controversy, and the league came out looking clean. In the end, Caitlin Clark's silence turned into a symbol of strength. It wasn't the kind that comes from big dunks or flashy highlights. It was deeper. She carried the pressure of an entire sport on her shoulders without ever shouting, without ever snapping. Every hit, every no call, every rough play became another test of patience and poise, and somehow she made it look effortless. She let her game do the talking, even when the whistle refused to. That calm, collected mindset became one of the most powerful parts of her rookie identity. It showed that real toughness isn't always loud. It's steady, it's focused, it's unshakable. Her composure proved she could handle not just the defenders in front of her, but also the unseen pressure from above, the politics, the influence, the control behind the curtain. In a season where every spotlight burned on her, Clark turned quiet strength into her trademark. What started as a normal rookie season grew into something way bigger, something that exposed how power really moves inside the league. That one referee's confession showed that Caitlin's journey wasn't just shaped by defenders and baskets, it was molded by decisions made long before the first tip-off. And this isn't a story about one bad call. It's about a system deciding how a star should rise and how much she should struggle along the way. The meetings, the numbers, the money, all of it pointed in the same direction. What fans saw wasn't random. It was planned. Every silent whistle, every extra hit, every play-on moment followed a quiet design. Through it all, Caitlin Clark didn't just survive, she mastered it. Her calm and focus carried her through a storm most players never face. But one question still hangs in the air. Should any athlete have to battle both their opponents and invisible rules? Her second season will tell the truth. Will the game finally change, or will the same quiet pattern repeat itself? Stay tuned, because the next chapter in Caitlin Clark's story might expose even more about how power really works in basketball.